Welcome to the Essence of the Soul,
a safe haven for all souls.
My name is Linda.
And my name is Paris, and welcome to our Soul Connections episode. We're super excited about this episode here because we could talk about love, soulmates, all those things all day long.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about and there's so much information. We'll kind of just briefly go through each one, basically, what soul connections are, what type of connections are out there, and how you can kind of identify which is which as well. So the first kind of soul connection that's out there is soul contracts. So essentially, soul contracts are contracts that we unconsciously have signed before incarnating here on Earth. So you probably don't recall or remember these type of contracts that you've made with other people, other souls, but essentially what it is a contract that you sign in order to learn a lesson from one another.
Yeah, so these are very temporary, almost like these are like honestly, I always say this, like every single person that we meet, we have a contract with. Like even me and Linda, we also have a contract together. And at this point, it's kind of like I was kind of doing a little bit of like my own like digging and honestly in my own mind, like the downloads that I've been getting and receiving is with soul contracts. It's interesting because you look at like even your friends, right?
Yeah.
Mostly, I like to use friends as an example because like when we were in college, right? Like we have a bunch of friends or
Like acquaintances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those people we have contracts with. Like we are here with you for like this amount of time. And then once we move on, then our contract is done. But, you know, it's kind of like, it's like almost physical too, right? Like we're signing a contract to move in together or something for 3 years. Then, you know, after those 3 years, then our contract is done. We move on with our life.
And you don't really like connect anymore, or like you don't really cross paths with those people once that
Yeah.
contract is over. It's less likely.
Exactly.
It's kind of like maybe you work at like a job, you know, temporarily for a bit. You meet some people, maybe a manager, and that manager guides you during that time that you're with that place, that workplace, and you learn a lot from, you know, that mentor, that manager. But after you leave that workplace, most likely you're not going to really see that person in your life anymore or cross paths with them. The contract is
Yeah.
over. You've learned your lesson. You helped each other during that period of your lives.
And at the same time, too, if you do think about it, contracts, well, this was a download that I got literally yesterday. I was like, well, your soul contract can also actually end also when like somebody also dies.
Yeah.
So like if me and Linda, like let's say we have a soul contract, right? And like I died tomorrow or something, my contract with her is done. And like her contract with me is done. So it's kind of like that to like till the end of life type of thing too, can be to that point where it's like, I knew this person for so long and like, you know, we've been friends for this long, but looks like our contract is over. Like and it could end early, it could end, you know, later in life, but it kind of depends, you know. So soul contracts, like they kind of work out in that way. There's so many different like intricacies and different situations that like we could go through with soul contracts, but I had that like thought or like download where I was like, you know, it's interesting. It's like when somebody passes away or, you know, is not here anymore, like in a sense, technically your contract is over with that person, you know? So that's like something to kind of like think about with the soul contract as well. But of course, like the people you work with, right? Coworkers, managers, friends from college, friends from high school, friends, you know, from elementary school, things like that. Like, those are soul contracts. Also, like, even if you have a romantic partner, you can also, of course, like have a soul contract. Even, you know, your parents, your siblings, things like that. A lot of times our siblings, right? Like, we'll sign a soul contract with them. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're only in our life for a small amount of time. It actually means that they signed up to be a certain role in your life to teach you something, you know? So, like, you'll see it's very common. Like we get irritated easily by our brothers, our sisters, like our siblings in general, right? So it's like, why do we get so irritated by them? But the truth is like, they actually signed a contract with you to say, hey, I'm going to be the enemy in your life so that you can learn this lesson. And that's like a very spiritual perspective there, but you kind of have to see it on that side of
A
things.
higher perspective
Yeah.
and understanding that There is no such thing as good or bad. At the end of the
Exactly.
day, it's all about learning lessons and experiences for your soul's evolution.
And sometimes, those people, they are your soul family. So at the same time, they're teaching you things like, yeah, for your soul's evolution, right? You need to learn, you need to grow. So these people will trigger you and they'll sign that contract. Maybe you get into this huge fight with your sister, right? And like, oh, it's so intense and it's so bad. But, eventually you make up and you come back together. It's like, well, our contract there was done. And like, looks like you signed up to be the villain so that I could learn this very important lesson. And that's just another perspective to see it. So,
Yeah, with soul contracts too, it's kind of like understanding from a higher perspective that this person, although like, on the spiritual side, it may have been hard for them to, even play the role of an antagonist or being the villain in your life. But it's like they love you so much to the point where they're willing to play that role to help you evolve and grow. And these type of soul contracts is kind of those type of experiences where even though like it could be triggering or it could like be painful or hurtful, after you go through that experience, it's kind of like you're thankful that that had happened to you, and you grew from it, and you kind of just like learn to like forgive and let it go. So those are kind of like soul contracts, you know. And so it kind of like goes into, karmic. We could go into karmic soulmates where, karmic soulmates is kind of like similar. You do have a soul contract with one another a little bit where you're kind of teaching each other lessons. But the thing about karmic soulmates is that once you leave that connection, there's kind of like a lot of pain or like a wound or like resentment there that you can't really get over. Whereas like soul contracts, like, it's like, okay, it happened, you let it go, you move on.
yeah, exactly. I would say karmic is one of the most intense that you can have here because it's karma from previous lifetimes, from previous things that, maybe like now you guys have to go through a lot of stuff in order to learn the lesson. And I always say, like with karmic soulmates, there's such a big spectrum with karmic soulmates because here we have like, you could be dating like your boyfriend, right, from high school to college or something. And for some reason, you guys were on and off or something happened to you, the relationship, things like that. But at the end of the day, like that was there to teach you something very important in order for you to evolve in that current stage of your life. But I will say, like with most karmic soulmates, if we're talking like extremely karmic, it will extend all the way up until you get married, you have children. These are really the type of people where it's like some people, they have really, really bad karma with this soulmate because it took a toll on their life and it kind of these are the type of people like I've heard is like you would take them to court, like you would like you I mean ultimately you don't really like this person has done you so much wrong, which is why it's karmic. You know what I mean? So at the same time, like I said, it's not like this for everyone. Even if you know you have a karmic relationship, it doesn't always have to be that way. We have some circumstances where karmic soulmates, like they'll continue to repeat. They'll go on and on and on and on. And they'll stay in that situation. They'll stay in that like relationship for so long, and they'll hurt themselves and like they'll hurt each other, and it's just crazy to the point where like you don't even know why you're doing this, and you start to realize I'm repeating cycles, and you realize like oh, I don't love myself, and like these things, like you feel lost, you don't, you know what I mean, like you don't know what to do. This person doesn't uplift you, this person is just here to like teach you like these lessons, and you're repeating things and it hurts a lot. These are the types of relationships where it's like arguing is very common and disagreements,
toxicity, narcissism.
yes, like things like that. And like I said, it can go so far to the point where you marry this person, and some people really have to marry this person in order to learn, or they have to have a child with this person in order to learn, or you know what I mean, like it can go
like,
really far.
There's a lot of different circumstances with karmic soulmates, like depending on how much karma needs to be balanced. So essentially it's like balancing out the karmas that are imbalanced from previous lifetimes. Maybe this person hurt you in this specific way, and in this lifetime you guys are balancing this karma. And depending on how much there is to balance, it could be like Paris said, to the point where you have to go through marriage, you have kids together, you're already very deep in life, and then all of a sudden what you realize is you need to break out of these patterns and these
Yeah.
cycles. That's what karmic soulmates are. Karmic soulmates, you're going through these cycles of karma and like continuously repeating these patterns of toxicity and negativity. And in order to break through those karmas, you have to realize self-love. I love myself enough to break these patterns, even though I love this person as well, which is usually what those karmic soulmates are. I love myself more to be in a better place and to pull myself out of a toxic environment and a toxic relationship.
Exactly.
And so that's when, you realize, okay, I'm ready to end, this contract or this karmic cycle that we have.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say, like, once you do get to that point, it's actually beautiful because here you complete the cycle, right? So, like, usually what's very common with like karmic soulmates is like one person will come to like this awakening or realization that, oh, I just cannot do this anymore. And I want better for myself. So once you start to realize like, oh, I want better. I want self-love. I want to love myself and I want to manifest somebody who's meant for me. You know what I mean? Like it's so hard to get into that mindset because to be honest, even though it's a karmic lover, you might argue, you might fight, there's still so much love there. Like there's so much love to the point where you feel like I can never leave this person because it is so hard. It's way easier said than done for sure. But the thing here is like once you begin to choose yourself, you'll start to see that karma shift and then you'll start to see like, for some reason maybe the love is just not there anymore or it doesn't feel the same anymore as time continues to go on and move forward. And you come to all these realizations and then all of a sudden, like, later my karma with this person is cleared. And you'll start to realize that like as time goes on because I mean, it's like this feeling emotion, like your intuition is like, I did really love this person. I will always love this person or have this unconditional love for them. But at the same time, I'm grateful because you taught me something in an important stage of my life. And now it's time for me to move forward. So when I love myself and I choose myself and I move forward in my life, our karma here is cleared and we don't owe each other anything anymore. And if we keep doing this, we're going to continue to repeat cycles. And if we even stay together in this lifetime, we might even come into the next life again and have to face it. Yeah, but be even worse. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's so bittersweet. It hurts so much, honestly. But at the same time, like I don't know, it's like the awakening, right? Like, do I want better for myself? And once you clear that karma, like one thing I love about karmic relationships, so when you can get through it, is that, and I'm just speaking from my own personal downloads and experience as well, I do truly feel like when you're finished with that karma, soulmates, they can evolve, okay? So like you won't always be karmic soulmates in every single lifetime, only if you don't fulfill the mission,
karma,
the contract, the karma, everything. If you continue to like hurt each other, like go on this route together, oh, you will continue to repeat that again in the next lifetime. But if you decide to like almost like come to this conclusion with each other, like learn from each other, have gratitude, love for each other, your karmic relationship will pretty much go into a soulmate in the next life, because well in the next life, well you cleared your karma in this life, so the next life, why do you don't have any karma, so that person potentially can be like a soulmate. But at the same time, I get it because you look at past lives like, oh, this person might have hurt me a lot, but it's like as your soul begins to evolve here on earth, you have to realize to like come to an awakening like, maybe, like we might have had like ups and downs, but we're also human and not every single soulmate is perfect. But with this person, because I unconditionally love them, I want to spiritually evolve and I don't want to be karmic lovers anymore, So it's a very long process, but I will say once you can get there and you can come to this like conclusion of, I want better for myself. And because I love you, I want better for you too. And it's really hard for people to get out of that because of their ego. And like on this physical third dimensional realm, right? Like we like give so much hate and like we're just haters like to our exes and things like that, right? But it's like, I think to look at it from like a different perspective, like you kind of have to say like, well, this person taught me so much, and I'm extremely grateful for them, because if I didn't have them, I wouldn't know self-love, or I wouldn't know like how to be like this or that, you know?
Yeah, it's all about learning forgiveness and acceptance too for the experiences that you've learned. One thing is, I know there are some people that go through relationships where after they break up, right, there's a lot of bitterness, a lot of resentment, grudges, and hatred towards one another. And I will say that type of energy that you carry is an energetic connection to that person, that soul. And so if you carry those up until, like, you pass away or whatever, you will have to come back and clear that energetic karma that you strongly held, those grudges. So that's why they do say, like, have forgiveness, because forgiveness is not just for that person but also for yourself, because you free yourself from those chains and those cycles and having to come back and resolve that grudge or resentment that you carried so strongly.
Yeah, and some people, like I said, it's like a spectrum. So sometimes we have obligations to these people. We owe them something, or they owe us something, So we have to go through it. And at the same time, it's like, just like Linda said, have forgiveness and have gratitude, because that's really the only way. And it has to be very genuine. It's not just like we're telling you this and you automatically feel
Just
like
be
that.
like, oh, okay, yeah, no. Like, it's actually like an energetic connection.
It is.
Deep down inside, when you think about that person, do you still, how do you feel? Like, what emotions come up? What kind of energies come up? And if you still have like some sort of even like negative thought, or, you think about those experiences that, you're really upset about still, it means you still haven't like forgiven that person, or you haven't moved on. You haven't accepted the experience for what it is, and you haven't learned the lesson.
And at the same time, like karmic relationships, I would say they're pretty common here and there, but just give yourself some grace too, because these are the types of connections where it's very, very hard to like leave this person. It's very hard to like awaken and like say I love myself, because sometimes like based on the situation, like you're so blocked in seeing maybe I do deserve better, just because, like I said, even though there might be a lot of hatred, arguments, like disagreements, at the same time there is a lot of love too, and you just gotta look in between. You know what I mean? Like, just want better for yourself and want better for the other person, and that's really the only way to kind of overcome it. And it's a mutual thing. So honestly, each person has to do the work. If you don't do the work, like, it's not going to move forward. It's not going to push or progress. And honestly, with karmic lovers too, like, if there's no progression anymore, like, you kind of have to think to yourself, like, what am I here for anymore? You know,
is
like,
the lesson over already?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of our connection with one another?
Yeah.
Because the point of being even on earth is to learn lessons and to grow through experiences. So if your connection with that person isn't teaching you anything, most likely there's no reason for you guys to be together no more. There's no growth, no evolution.
Yeah.
And if you stay with them, then that just means you're prolonging your contract with them.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, like I said, easier said than done, but trust me, guys, we have a lot of soulmates, which is what we're going into next. So karmic lovers, just know that, like, you're very intense and very, very loving too, but at the same time, it's very hard, and you have to learn from the past. But here on earth, we also have soulmates, so actual soulmate connections. And Linda is a soulmate of mine, of course. So we have soulmates, like romantic ones and platonic ones, right? So here we have like our friends, our bestest friends, or even our siblings, right? Are also can be like our soulmates, our cousins, like people that we are just like, best friends with, or we love a lot. We trust them, right? They're our soulmates. Soulmates are very interesting because we have a bunch of soulmates, but then we have like one high divine soulmate. So a high divine soulmate is the highest soulmate of all soulmates, pretty much. And this is, I would say, the most likely going to be a romantic partner here. So your high divine soulmate is somebody who this is my personal opinion, okay? I do feel like a soulmate is somebody who is like the best physical partner to be with. And when I say physical, I mean like these people are going to be there to uplift you. They're going to like support you financially.
Yeah, they're romantic. There's a lot of love, a lot of care for one another. You want to
Yeah.
see each other grow. You guys have a lot of similar interests. You guys have a lot of things in common. That's how you kind of know it's like a soulmate connection.
Yeah.
Of course, it's not all butterflies and rainbows. You guys still are here to teach each other lessons, but for the most part, it's a very positive interaction with one another.
Yeah. And, like when you're down, that person will bring you up. When that person's down, you'll bring them up. It's kind of just like, a soulmate connection here. Like, okay, we're here on earth. Like, we learn lessons, but at the same time, like, I'm very lucky to have you because you always support me. And, same thing goes with the high divine. But I will also say, so this goes for all soulmates too, which is very important, is like the evolution of the individual, right? So like even if this person is your high divine soulmate and they're not like evolved, doesn't always mean they're the best choice or person for you.
Yeah.
Because like, you know what I'm saying? It's just not like when they're not to the point where they're supposed to be, they're not going to be good for you. They're going to be toxic. And you might even be toxic for them too, because you're both not evolved here, And so, and this goes for all, like, honestly, all soulmates that we're talking about today. If you're just not spiritually there or evolved, there will be like issues that will arise. And even if, like I said, that person's your high divine soulmate, doesn't always mean that they're going to be like the best person for you, especially if they haven't learned their own lessons.
Yeah, it's all about where you are at in your life too for one another. Maybe they are your high divine soulmate, but not right now in this current time,
And it's interesting too, because you could be like, you could know your high divine soulmate, and you could also like be with a different soulmate, right? But this other soulmate, even though they're not your high divine, they could actually be better for you because your high divine is not evolved yet, right? And it goes vice versa, like both ways. But at the same time, it's like I said, it's just kind of, you have to know, like just intuitively know, like this person, truth is, your high divine might actually have a stronger connection with you, but your soulmate is actually somebody who's physically going to be there for you, like
more beneficial for you at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And you kind of have to pick and choose, because here you're thinking like spiritual versus like logical too, right?
I think also one question that people might have is, how do you know the difference between who's a soulmate and who's like a high divine, right? And of course, like if you're very intuitive, you will probably sense it like energetically, that connection. It's a stronger connection. But sometimes, you can use, of course, the general like, I guess, like descriptions that people like use for like defining whichever ones, but in order to know, you need like some sort of cosmic confirmation, right?
Yeah.
And that's usually through finding someone that can connect with, that side, the spiritual side, that can give you those answers. Usually it's a psychic or, a shaman that can kind of confirm like if this person is your soulmate or a high divine, karmic, or whatever it is too.
Yeah, exactly. And they do like flame readings as well, which is very, I think it's so awesome, because you can kind of see like the current energy, and you can kind of like have somebody read it off for you, and it's very beautiful to see how those like burns, like the flame, how it burns, and the way that you feel towards each other, and you can kind of see the connection through that as well, because energy doesn't lie, and these people like high divine soulmates, they're also people like we have multiple lifetimes with, we built lives with them. We might have like hurt each other, things like that, but at the same time, like you've always supported me, you've always been there for me, like things like that, right? So we have these like soul connections where our soul will always remember them, and they'll always like be somebody who was good to us in the past. So that's kind of why we come here like in our lifetime, right? And we meet people and we're like, oh, well, let's say this person was my high divine soulmate. Well, my heart is like drawn to you, and like at the same time, it's because we've had lifetimes where you have.
And one thing to note too is that, like you said, like the more lifetimes you've had with one another, the more that person feels familiar to you when you meet them again in this lifetime. It's as if like, when people say like, oh yeah, like I met this person and it felt like we've known each other for years. It's kind of like that. Like those are the type of connections that you kind of know, okay, this person is like a soulmate of mine that we've had many lifetimes together. Like when I saw this person, it felt like I knew them.
Yeah.
Type of thing. Kind of like, I would say like me and Paris, like our first encounter, I'm just like, wow, like we're talking as if like we've known each other for years, but like this is the first time I've ever talked to her, and we stayed together for that whole night and that whole week. I'm just like, wow, like for some reason it feels like we've always been friends, but we just met each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
Exactly. And those are,
Yeah.
I mean, those are beautiful connections right there, so.
Yeah, so leading into our final soul connection, which is twin flames. So twin flames essentially is a term that someone came up with, but it's essentially like another person that shares the same soul as you. So essentially, two people that share half of each other's soul.
Yeah. And not everybody comes here with a twin flame. So just know that it's not something that everyone has, but some people do have a twin flame. And with this connection is going to be one of the most intense connections ever. And you'll see that your twin flame is here to help you grow spiritually. So, when I was talking about the soulmate, I said it's very physical here. So we're talking like this person will always be there for you and support you and be that best person for you, like in a human state, right? Like the twin is going to be there for you, like energetically, like spiritually speaking. Our higher selves are so connected to each other because we came from the same source, or we share the same soul. We're a reflection of each other. So you'll see like your twin flame will be somebody who is actually very similar to you. And
Because you guys share the same blueprint.
Yeah.
You guys are the same person. Essentially, your twin flame is you in another human form.
yeah.
So they say that with twin flames, like Paris said, not everyone has a twin flame in this lifetime. There's many different journeys, many different types of twin flames, but most common thing is when you meet your twin flame in this lifetime, if you do, and if they are here, they're for a reason. Your twin flame is meant to help your soul spiritually evolve to its highest potential. Because essentially what they're doing is mirroring your shadows, mirroring the deepest and darkest parts of yourself that you've repressed, and pushing that to the surface for you to see and understand what parts of yourself still need to be healed in order for you to be at the highest potential in this lifetime.
Yeah, and with twin flames, it's like it's not the easiest connection either because, like you're saying, like they're trying to bring out your shadows, so they're triggering you a lot. And you'll see, like, if you do know your twin flame or you've met your twin flame or things like that, it's like if you're mad at them or you feel triggered by them, you're actually triggered at yourself because they're just a reflection of you. So the way you feel about them is actually how you feel about yourself, know? And it's very hard for twin flames to be together because it's hard for the both of them to evolve. And one thing that's very interesting about the twin flame journey is that there's always a chaser and a runner. And we like to call the feminine the masculine, right? So it doesn't matter if you're the male or the female, like male or female can have masculine or feminine energy. But here they say the feminine is always the chaser and the masculine is always the runner. So you'll see like the feminine will continue to always chase the masculine, and the masculine will not like really pay attention because the truth is like the masculine just wants the feminine to really like focus on themselves, like love themselves. So then once the feminine stops chasing and it starts to work on themselves, then the masculine will actually turn around and chase the feminine instead, because the truth is the masculine cannot live without the feminine. And so the feminine is the leader, the one who initiates this whole entire thing. That's why, the feminine, they say the feminine awakens first, because when the feminine awakens first, the feminine's here to awaken the masculine. And this is very important in the journey here because it's going to continue to be like a chasing and running type of situation with the twin flame. But at the same time, like a lot of twin flames, they need to learn how to grow, evolve, awaken. They continue to trigger each other. And it's a very intense type of connection. And it's very similar to karmic lovers too, because with karmic, it's like you go through arguments, disagreements, but truth is you're supposed to kind of end it and leave. With twin flames, it can get really bad. Like it can get really toxic.
Yeah. A lot of times the masculine is not awakened. They're still stuck in their ego.
Yeah.
So there are cases where the masculine is a narcissist, toxic, very bad for you. But usually the feminine is the awakened one, so they know this connection. They're trying to awaken the masculine. But the point here is not to, change them or to like force them to wake up, because truth is everyone awakens at their own time.
Yeah.
Even with twin flames, everyone, like they have their own spiritual awakening journey that they have to go on as well. So what you essentially have to do is allow the twins to have that self-love. Remember to come back to yourself and grow and, do it for yourself. As much as you want to help your twin, what you really need to do is help yourself, because what you're really wanting to do is to help yourself. Your twin is you.
Exactly.
You're trying to help yourself, but really like in the physical, you should be doing it towards yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what the masculine is trying to mirror for you.
Yeah.
I'm running away for you to be able to realize I want you to love yourself,
And in this connection, the truth is the more you love yourself, the more your twin loves yourself, which means the more you can love each other. And it's so beautiful. Like, I could talk about twin flames all day because I think the connection is so, like, it's exactly how it's supposed to be. When you love yourself, your twin is like, okay, I also love myself, because when I love me, you love you, because we're the same. So then, like, that means our connection is going to grow stronger. And when you love yourself, that means you're going to love me more. And I'm also going to love me more. I'm also going to love you more. So it's kind of like this, like, whole thing where it's like, it's very sad because you would just want to love this person, right? But at the same time, like, man, the lesson here is just love yourself, because the more you love you, the more you nurture yourself, you love yourself, you take care of yourself, the more your twin's going to do the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And
because you share the same soul too.
Yeah.
When you heal, your soul is evolving, and because you share the same soul, they're also growing and evolving as well.
Exactly.
The thing with the twin flame journey is it only takes one person to initiate the spiritual journey, and that's when you awaken. You start to realize, okay, like there's a mission here, is to evolve. And so when you grow and you evolve and you start working on yourself, your twin will come back around and realize, oh yeah, this is, what we're here for, is to grow and evolve.
Yeah.
They say that soulmates, there's romance and there's love physically, but with a twin flame, it's not about romance. It's not about love, like those romantic fantasies and stuff. It's about spiritual growth, spiritual evolution. And there could be love. It's always unconditional, but it's not about being physically in love with one another. And with twin flames, you share the same soul. Soul, this is something that I learned recently, is that your soul is not duality. Your soul is on the fifth dimension. So on the fifth dimension, that's where source is. And source is about oneness. So your soul is oneness. You crave oneness with your twin flame. That's why you crave union.
Yeah.
And that's why when you're in your separation stage, like it's so hard, it's so difficult, it's so triggering. But really what it is with being your twin flame is finding that inner peace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. I mean, with your twin flame too, it's like these people, I mean, you'll see like you understand each other like no other, because you are each other. You came from the same source. And honestly, like that's pretty much what the twin flame here is. We talk about twin flame, it's just a term that we use like physically. But spiritually, what it is that we were created at the same time. We were one soul, but we separated into two. And we came down to earth to kind of go through our own karmas, cycles, different things.
To balance the masculine and feminine energies.
Exactly.
That's what we came here for. That's why there's a divine masculine who's meant to, balance their feminine energy. And the feminine energy meant to balance their masculine energy.
And it's like the easiest to heal one another, because the twin flame journey is like this person is somebody where like they'll listen to you, they want to like talk more to you, and they want to heal with you. So they're the easiest person to trigger, to the point where like you might say something to them and they actually might get triggered to the point where they're going to change their life. It's going to be quicker, like a quicker type of healing. So twin flames, they can heal each other on a quicker level versus like a karmic lover or like a soulmate, like this is a very quick and deep, intense, expansive type of love. And I have heard, like even if you say hi to your twin flame, or you like, say like nice things to them or things like that, like it actually motivates them more to, want to be better. But, even though like maybe we're not conscious that we're twin flames or whatever, but it's very interesting how quickly you'll see like the energetic movement here. Like, twin flames are very interesting here. So it's very common for twin flames to be a large age gap. And it's also very common for one of the twins to be married already before finding out.
There's so many different journeys with like twin flames. I just learned this recently too, is that there can be, a twin flame journey, like you mentioned, where there's a large age gap and one of them is already married.
Yeah.
There's another instance where maybe there's a third party involved where that's kind of preventing you guys from, connecting and being together.
Yeah.
There's another, case where, okay, maybe like there is no third party, you guys do meet, but it's not the right timing where you guys are both unhealed. And so if you guys are together, there is a lot of triggering, a lot of unhealedness, a lot of like toxicity. It's kind of toxic in a way because you guys haven't healed to your fullest potential yet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different journeys. Not one twin flame journey matches like, everyone's circumstance. But one thing to notice is that although the twin is meant to trigger you and help you evolve, there is still a lot of love and support. And it's only because they want to help you grow from those things.
Yeah.
A lot of times people may confuse a twin flame with a toxic karmic, because it's so similar, like you mentioned, or, because twins, they share so many of things, same things. So they usually say like a twin, if one twin is going through a large, big obstacle or like part of their lives, the other is also going through the same thing.
Yeah.
So I am with like a twin, and I will say like it's so funny because even before I found out that we were twins, I used to always say this, like, oh my God, we're twins, because you went through the same thing that I went through at the same point in my life,
Yeah.
and even now we're still going through like, the same things too, because we are twins. We go through the same things to grow and evolve. And so one thing to remember is that don't get confused with trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because that person might share a lot of the same, traumas or same like obstacles that you go through, that doesn't always mean that's your twin flame too.
Yeah.
So you need some sort of, confirmation again, like we mentioned earlier. And I mean, you can go and like, ask a psychic or a shaman. I personally didn't. I was always, no, Paris knows it. I was always scared of getting relationship readings because sometimes it's better to just not know things. But I guess I got it one day and I didn't ask any specific questions, but it kind of just came. And there's always a reason why you learn things.
Yeah.
And so when you learn that, oh, hey, that's your twin or that's your soulmate or that's your karmic, there's a reason for that. So that you can wake up and realize, oh, there's a reason why we're together. We need to either solve this sort of lesson or grow from this or evolve together.
And I think like when it comes to like those types of readings too, like they won't always share every single like detail with you. Like when you're ready to know that information, you're ready to know. And I think like it's just interesting because the moment that you might find out like, oh, that's my twin flame, it's kind of, it starts to trigger you too.
It does. It triggers something in you, and it awakens you to realize, oh yeah, like this is what I was here for.
Yeah.
It's like remembering. And that's why they allow some of these messages to come through.
Yeah.
Because if you're not meant to know, oh yeah, they will definitely not tell you.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I mean, every type of like reading you get or whatever it is, like the information that's that you're meant to know, like they'll tell you only if you're allowed to know, really, to be honest.
And I will say it's good to have multiple perspectives because every psychic or every shaman, they see different angles and perspectives as well. So getting multiple confirmations will kind of tell you, okay, hey, like this is confirmed, this is my twin or this is my karmic. Instead of course, like a lot of people say, oh, how can you just believe one person that tells you that? Yeah. Well, now you know it's not just one person. It's been confirmed and validated multiple times too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, the twin flame connection is just, it's a beautiful thing once you can really experience it. But I will say too, like it's going to hurt and
it's
trigger.
gonna shake up your whole world,
Yeah.
and it's all for your soul's evolution.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're able to even meet or be with your twin flame in this lifetime, and it's usually because you have a higher purpose. You know.
And they are here to like be healers together. Like they say, like if you end up with your twin flame, like I mean, really take it seriously to the point where like you can actually change the world together. And like I said though, like with twin flames, a lot of them are better off like as friends because they don't usually work out because of how toxic and crazy it can be. But and like the connection is so intense. So the thing is like if you are an evolved twin, like both of you, like you can really do amazing things together. But the thing too is like sometimes I wouldn't say the twin flame is always the best person to be with, only because if one is not evolved in the other, it can get really, really hard and toxic. But just like the karmic relationship too, it's also very hard to leave. So that's why they can be very similar, the twin flame and the karmic connections. And also with twin flames, it's not only that like it's all rainbows and sunshine beautiful, where like you came from the same source and you're the same, you share the same soul, but at the same time, you have multiple lifetimes together too, where you continuously hurt each other, trigger each other. So your soul might remember each other and always love each other unconditionally because your twin is somebody who came with you, right? But at the same time, you continuously hurt each other like that. Why would you be the best person, to be together? Like that's kind of like how it like physically how it is, because here on earth we're human, so we learn lessons and we trigger each other, we hurt each other, and like we might say things that we don't mean. And this goes for all connections, but like with twin flames, if you are with your twin flame, it's a good thing, but you also want to make sure that not only you're evolved, but that your twin is also evolved, because and the only way for your twin to evolve is if you evolve.
Yes.
So that's really it. It's just know that like you have to love yourself. You have to work on yourself. The more you do that, the more your twin's going to be like, oh, my twin's doing that? Okay, I got to do that for myself too, And this is when we get into the whole thing of like, okay, now I'm evolving, then you're also evolving. And this is like the most powerful thing you can do. And it's also the hardest thing for twins to do.
It is, because a lot of times it has to do with dealing with, your inner child traumas, traumas that have been carried through lifetimes even. These patterns and these cycles that you were not conscious of, they reflect those things to you. And when they trigger that part of you, it's hard because you're like, oh, why am I getting triggered over these type of experiences with my twin, right? But really what they're doing is showing you a part of yourself that you need to grow from, a cycle that you've been continuing that is time for you to grow. And if you don't grow from that, then your twin and you are not going to be successful together.
Yeah. And I think what's important to note too is like with your twin, you both have your own individual life. So like we said, the masculine is usually the one who doesn't awaken first. The feminine should awaken first. So as the feminine awakens first, and it triggers the masculine to want to be better, right? But like here is like, you can't really force your twin or your soulmate or whatever. It doesn't even matter what kind of soulmate you are at this point. You can't force somebody to learn fast or quickly or as quickly as you, because the thing is like they have to go through certain things. And that's why I say like it's very common to have this huge age gap, right? Like, and let's say like your twin flame is like married or has somebody, right? Like they're dating someone or something, but it's like they kind of have to go through those karma cycles for them to learn like on their own individual like journey in order for them to be a better person for you. So you kind of have to like wait it out a little too, and like see like every situation is different. But I will say like if your twin is like a lot slower than you can't force the journey to be quicker. You have to let your twin learn it, him or herself, So and the twin flame journey is all about the spiritual growth. So it's like the more that I grow spiritually, I love myself, the more that I am learning spiritual, different things like how the world works and how I'm helping people and things like that, the more my twin will also grow, right? So it's kind of like that. But at the same time, like I said, you just can't pause anybody's journey. You have to let this person go through what they need to go through in order for them to be the best version of themselves for you. Because why would you want to be with your twin flame if they're not the evolved version, right? And at the same time, it's kind of like, I mean, some circumstances people do end up with them like at those like very not evolved stages.
Yeah, and that's like a type of journey too in itself where, those, I would say like, I am in that type of twin flame journey where it's hard, but it's very beautiful at the same time to see each other grow. You're growing together.
Yeah.
But that's only if you both make it work. By learning to grow individually and working on self-development, self-improvement, and self-discovery too.
Yeah, and it just has to go both ways, So like when you love yourself, you trigger your twin to want to be better. And that's how it should work, And so that's kind of like a little bit about the twin flame journey. There's so many different types of journeys. We
could talk about this forever. There's so many different, we can definitely go in depth in it in the future too. But like we said, this is just a little brief, a little bit into like soul connections. I know we did kind of go in depth with twin flames, but there's just so much to talk about there.
Yeah. It's a very intense journey. I mean, but with all soul connections can be very intense in their own certain ways. But twin flames, if you know your twin flame or you've been with your twin flame or you've looked into it and you know who it is, it's probably going to be one of the most intense things that you can face in your life too, honestly. So just know that it's it's all energy doesn't lie, and if you came from the same source, you are a reflection of each other, you share the same soul. It's very, very deep, and like
it's all unconditional love, growing and evolving together with all different type of soul connections.
And with soul connections, just know that like the only thing that really exists is love. So if you're with your karmic, your soulmate, high divine, your twin flame, or you just simply have a soul contract, just have gratitude and know that like we're here on earth school for a reason. Like in this incarnation, we signed up for these lessons, we signed up to meet these people so that we can grow and evolve spiritually, physically, and so that when we come back back to the spiritual world, that we can meet with each other again, and we can just say, hey, the only thing that exists is love. Don't ever forget that I love you. Even if we come back to earth and we have emotions and we're human and we have different fights and things like that, at the end of the day, always have forgiveness, always have gratitude for every connection that you have, and just learn love. It's the only thing that really exists.
Yeah. Love, acceptance, forgiveness, and learning and growing together here on earth. So
it's the highest vibration, guys. But so thanks so much for tuning in to our episode on soul connections. It was so fun to talk about this, and like Linda said, we can go in depth like all day. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment, message us.
If you are more curious about these topics, let us know. Leave a comment below. We can definitely do another episode where we go in depth as well and cover different areas that you might be curious about, or even our personal experiences further. But overall, it's been a very insightful episode. Hopefully you learned a little bit of something here. You're now able to identify what kind of connections you have with the people in your life. And thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.